Hello everyone, Mike Levin, Tuesday, August 16th at about 8:20 a.m., 2016, and I am I am listening to Richard Feynman's Caltech lecture series, one in a book extract, Audible book called Six Easy Essays, which is or six easy six easy lectures, I think it is. And wow, it's amazing to listen to. It's not just the particle physics and atoms and molecule stuff, but it's also the biological stuff, and overlapping with chemistry and organic chemistry, and you basically hear his take on things, and it's just amazing. And so many directions I can go with that. Two things occur to me. First is I am looking for what's going to be next after Richard Feynman. Do I go back to sci-fi? Do I read more actual science? I'm doing Feynman because he's unique in the fact he communicates so well to people like me, the perpetual layman or noob. Even if I don't go into school for studying actual science, he's an inspiration to get me back into, say, mathematics. So I actually Googled what packages existed under Python to help with algebra, and there's something called SymPy, and I'll probably be investigating that, and maybe that will even be the way I introduce Addie to algebra at an early age. I certainly want to introduce her to Python, so why not blend it in with her, mathematics homeschool education? How early can you start someone on Python in the real type-in way, and how soon could you actually start them on algebra? It'll just be an experiment, but that's one of the directions that this thinking sort of takes me. There's not only the mathematics side, which it's really stimulating my mind with hearing Feynman differentiate mathematics from science, saying math is not science, but in a good way. Just because something isn't science doesn't mean it's a detraction. Just because science is good and something is not science does not make it bad. And then he almost scornfully says people who think so have a problem with their logic. So it's fascinating. But other directions that I'm thinking of going after this is so it's of course what to read next, what to study with Addie, but it's also dabbling in other programming languages, because it's very clear that Feynman sets out that it's so difficult to think in terms of four spatial dimensions and invisible forces that have no analogies in real life at the human scale that we experience. And he says one of the things that we could do is to help our children deal with the concepts of quantum mechanics, that things can pop in and out of existence between dimensions and stuff. And here we are with Star Butterfly versus the Forces of Evil, where she does the thing with her dimensional scissors, and I do let her watch Rick and Morty with a portal gun. And speaking of these concepts, wow, the way Rick and Morty just rifles through all the sci-fi tropes, all the multiverse tropes. I don't think they've done time travel yet, which is good. Stick to the multiverse stuff. But it's exactly, I believe, what Feynman had suggested we need for our kids. It might have been in the BBC series where they interviewed him when he went to visit the town where his wife grew up, one of his places he would, reclude to think without the rigmarole around him, because he was a celebrity at a young age. So yeah, it's really quite heady to be going through things like Ian Malcolm's The Culture series, and Asimov I refreshed myself on recently, and listening to Richard Feynman, listening to Rick Sanchez, all sort of, and doing the Python programming work at the office, and realizing that the dimensional thought stuff actually might be more appropriate in some other languages that, live for scaling into other, accesses, n-dimensional array stuff. So maybe I'll look at Scala after all, or even Lisp might be the mind-expanding experience I'm looking for in a programming language. Because a lot of this stuff came out of that same place, right? There was the AI lab over here where the computer science stuff was happening, and then there was the the mathematics lab, departments over here where a lot of these concepts were being worked out. And it's only natural that they finally become the same thing. And the movement that's going on with, say, Jupyter Notebook, where scientists are jumping on the Python bandwagon so that they can prove their science to each other, because there's a thing about a third of all published papers could be wrong, statistically speaking, and that's an amazingly large number. So what better way to tackle all this than to do it through teaching a kid coding as if it's a first spoken language, to use that language to help articulate the concepts of mathematics like algebra, to work it all into her homeschooling education, to blend that mathematic world with the real world control stuff like robots and 3D printers. And got to get biological science in there somewhere, tardigrade circus, interfaces with dramatically different scales, but still on the life scale. So tardigrade sized robots and such. And that is certainly going to be the path that I'm going to try and set out for myself and for the education of my daughter. And when she reaches the point where her passions and interests kick in, I'll support her breaking off in whatever direction she wants. But until that day comes, I'm going to have a pretty good time with these videos and the projects I'm doing in this sort of long-term play, because none of this is sort of that overnight grab for, wealth, fame, and success that so many things with technology these days are. You connect a few dots, you make a few billions, and you sort of clock out of the game. Not that I necessarily could do that, but so long as I haven't, the journey is the reward. These videos are really something I do to capture the concepts for myself, and since I'm doing it, this is about the only added time I ever add to these things when I stop walking to finish a thought before I get to my destination, because I just record these things on the way to and from work. So with that, I'll say thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.